Welcome to the Destinations with Doni podcast, where we explore your cultural passions. Destination home, cuisine, community, relationships, and passion. Embrace your cultural identity as we bring you the tools to live in full color. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Destinations with Doni. I think you could probably hear it in my voice. I am so excited. I'm excited by the crew that we have here today. And all of this crew is involved with Cultures. I was going to let them introduce themselves, but I'm going to introduce them because I want to talk about their cross-culturalness and how they're part of Cultures magazine. And I'm excited. Each of them brings a really unique perspective, not only to what we do at Cultures, but to what we're going to talk about today, which is Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Yes, we're going to do all the finger snaps for that one. And we have varying views on the movie. And our thought is, what was the real message? What was it about? When I went to see it, and I've seen it twice, I saw it 2 days in a row. I won't tell you why I saw it twice. It wasn't on purpose, but I'm glad that I did. Hayden knows. If y'all see Hayden on camera and you see him laughing, he knows why I had to see it twice. I missed parts of the movie, so I had to go back. But I'm so glad I did. It was just amazing for so many reasons. So without further ado, we're going to discuss Black Panther Forever, and I'm going to introduce each and every one of our panelists. So first of all, we will introduce Hayden Greene, who is Director of Multicultural Affairs and Student Development at Manhattan College. So he has that perspective, as well as his own cross-cultural perspective. He's Trinidadian from the UK, lives in New York City, and like me, loves all of this stuff. We talk Lovecraft's Country. We talk, what's the other one with the smiley face that I always forget? Oh,
Watchmen. You can't forget the Watchmen.
Yes, thank you. How do I forget that name? And then, of course, now Black Panther. He is also a photographer for Cultures and did one of my favorite covers. I think as of now, it's my favorite cover of all time. And that's when we flew to New York City and met Hayden to tape or to shoot the cast of New Amsterdam, the multicultural cast of New Amsterdam. And it's iconic. The whole shoot was great. So welcome, Hayden. We are excited to have you here. He's also, if I didn't mention, our new pop culture columnist. So all the things, all the Lovecrafts, all the Watchmens, all the Black Panthers, Hayden will be bringing it to us from a multicultural perspective. So next, I'm going to introduce Isis, who is the owner, let me see if I get this right. If I don't, please correct me, Isis, the owner of the first ever Black science fiction bookstore, which is based in California. Am I correct?
Yes,
okay,
like 98%. Yeah, it's based in cyberspace, so we're mostly online, so wherever you have internet connection.
Wonderful. And Isis actually pitched us a column to do multicultural sci-fi books. That excited me so much. It's going to go so great with what Hayden does for us as well, and on the literary end. And we talked about how she has titles for Latin America or Hispanics, however you want to say it. I say Latinos, but being an Afro-Latino myself, but Latin Americans, Asian Americans, and we especially will have a native focus for next year. We really want to bring more attention to indigenous populations with Cultures, and Isis is already on it. So I'm excited to feature all of those things. She's going to bring that perspective to the conversation today. And then we have John Liang, who is our managing editor at Cultures. He also is managing editor for deeperblue.com, which is all about freediving and probably other stuff. John, you could tell us because I don't know about that stuff. However, what is fantastic about that for today is that John will bring that perspective of freediving and holding your breath underwater, all the things they had to do for the film that he had insider information on, and really got me going with all the tips that he had. He recently was at a conference and really doubled down on that information. John actually is Guatemalan and Asian. He's a third culture kid who lived in how many countries, John, growing up?
5. I think it was 5.
Five.
Guatemala,
Okay.
Costa Rica, Connecticut, Panama, Connecticut, Morocco, and Egypt. And I consider Connecticut a foreign country in and of itself.
Yes. Oh gosh, no, he did it. He did it. He just said it. Okay. So John,
one day you and I will get together and talk about the New England states and how it should just be one state.
oh my
You should,
gosh.
you should watch my sister's play. It's now on video where she talks about growing up as a TCK and specifically about southern New England. Yeah.
Yeah, we really actually should have your sister's play. We featured it in the magazine, but we probably should do a screening with it. It's phenomenal. But yes, that is John. You could see all the perspectives he brings to this conversation today. And last but not least, definitely not least, my right hand, my right brain is, or is it left brain creative? Left brain's creative, right? So it's Diana Vega. She is in Merida, Mexico, and she is the art director for Cultures. And Diana is amazing on every level. However, the perspective she brings today, first of all, she's a third culture adult. She went to do her master's at Colorado State University in the United States. So left Merida, went there, and then really experienced what repatriation was like after living in the United States for years and going back to Mexico. And her parents, just how it affected the whole family. It's interesting. We have a story on dogs and how that really helps with that process and grieving, not just grieving, but also any time that you have to make a big change like that. People don't realize the toll that it takes on you physically and mentally. So Diana is a third culture adult. Of course, she's cross culture because she's from Mexico. And more than just Mexico, she's from the Yucatan. So she has amazing, we had great conversations with the perspective she brings to this film, because Kukulkan, who is a big part of this movie, and all the indigenous perspective, in addition to I'm losing my words, Mexican perspective of this movie. I'm looking forward to Diana sharing that with us. So thank you. You see, we have an amazing and illustrious panel. We're going to get started. So my first question will be, and I think I'll just go, I'm going to pick somebody so we don't have a free for all. The first question is going to be, what did you all think of the movie? I'm going to start with John from his perspective.
I thought it was very good, given the constraints that they had to work with. I mean, given that Chadwick Boseman passed away, they handled the issues of grief really, really well. The action scenes were great. I thought the underwater scenes were really, really well done. Clearly, their trainer, his name is Alex Linas, who is or Ginas, 2 L's in his last name. He's Colombian American. He was born and raised in Colombia. Has several national and continental freediving records, and he's one of the principal trainers for all the cast, and mainly Teno Suerta, Mabel Cadena, and all the other indigenous folks who were actually underwater. So that's what I was actually planning. That was my goal to go and see, and to see what it would look like. And they did a very good job of blending the actual underwater shots with shots that were CGI or more animated style. But I really liked it.
Fantastic. I love that. Isis, your thoughts?
I loved it. I think in my mind, like, people are asking, do you like one more, two more? And I think, like, it's like trying to pick a favorite for kids. It's like, you can't pick a favorite. I love the way they brought in some of the themes of the comic books. So Shuri becoming Black Panther is a theme from the comic book. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the reference to the Midnight Angels and their queerness, and seeing that in the movie. That was fantastic, especially for like a major Black film, a blockbuster film. So that was exciting. And I also enjoyed seeing like Riri Williams, the new Iron Man, and Shuri like do science together and talk about diffusion and just being like nerds, and that being celebrated. So there's a lot of things. I loved the diaspora-ness of this film versus the first film. So like they have scenes in Haiti. Like we get to see this Native American underworld kingdom. So that was amazing, and see some of that lore. So there's so many rich aspects of Wakanda Forever. I wish that Namor wasn't fighting Shuri for most of the film. So if Ryan Coogler, if you're out there, like if we could have that interaction and it be more peaceful in future films, that would be awesome. But other than that, I absolutely loved everything about it.
It's funny that you say that because I agree. I really wanted them to come together. It was interesting reading some of the comments on different perspectives and interviews online because a lot of people made this comment. I felt the same way. Like when someone brought up the Sebastian the Crab from what's that movie? The
Little
Mermaid.
Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid.
What's the Little Mermaid? Um, let me show you the world shining, shimmering, splendid, like that that part of the movie where the song comes on, and it was like a romantic scene. It's like, oh, let me show you my world, and everybody was waiting for Shuri and this god to get together. I was. I was like, are they gonna be a couple? But it's interesting you say that because I wanted them to be peaceful. I wanted them to bring it together, and I loved the ending in that they made peace. I don't know that I liked that he had to yield to do that, but I like that they came together. What's interesting about that, we're gonna go to Diana because her perspective was a little bit different. What were your thoughts of the movie, and how did you think about them coming together, Diana, at the end?
I mean, the thing is that I it was an event for me, kind of watching that movie because I've never seen the Mayan culture represented in a big Hollywood movie because most of the times they use it like as an excuse or background story or like a cartoon. So at the beginning, I was really apprehensive to go to watch the movie. I was like, I don't know what they're going to do about it. So I was like, okay. I waited to watch the movie, but then my sister was like, yeah, yeah, go watch it. And I was like, okay, okay, I will give it a try. And then I went, and they started talking about Kukulkan, and they started mentioning like Mayan gods, and I started speaking in Maya, and I was like, what? Like at that moment, I wish so much that I knew more Mayan words. I knew like so basic Mayan words that we use like every day, but I cannot speak Mayan, right? And then at the end of the credits, when they have the Mayan rap song, I was like, oh. And then I went to YouTube and looked for it and everything. I've been like listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, I need to learn more Mayan. Like, definitely make me feel proud about it and more curious about my own culture. Because for people to be about Mayan is like discrimination or to be less in a way. But then showing our culture like so big, like I was like, no, I need it more. So I was really excited, and I see all the representation. As an architect, I also watched like how they have the Mayan houses. It wasn't pointed out on the movie, of course, but I was like, look at that. But then I was so happy. I was so happy about the movie, and then, but the thing is that I was telling Donnie that
I'm
at the end of the
I know
movie
what
I
you're
didn't
saying. Yeah, I
agree.
see you saying next. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's just that it's kind of that feeling like when you're in the soccer World Cup where you're like supporting your own country. Even if you don't like soccer, you have to be there for Mexico. I even have like Mexico soccer thing like only wear during World Cups. I was like during the movie, yes, no more win. You need to win. I'm sorry. I missed the complete goal or message of the movie. I was just like so excited and so happy for having Tenoch Huerta there and like, yes, you have to win. I'm sorry. It's just like that proud inside of me. I want him to be the hero at the end of the movie.
But he was the hero. But he was the hero with Shuri, man. They were together. I love that they did it together. That's what the world needs more of, Diana. You can't be so competitive.
No, but I agree with Deanna. Like, you,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no,
Go
but
ahead,
I agree with
Isis.
Deanna. Yeah, I agree with Deanna because for a second I was like, wow, you have this historic Mayan representation and a major Hollywood blockbuster film, and then he has to be defeated. Like I felt something. I was like, I'm happy that Shuri won, but I also did not want Kukulkan to lose, right? And you
Yes,
know,
yes.
like I wanted them both to win. I didn't want it to be at the expense of the other.
Well, I think Hayden has something to say about that. Go ahead.
So Donnie knows my writing, and Donnie knows the way that I look at movies and film and TV and the rest of that. And I love taking it a level down, right? Just under the surface, which is actually what we're going to call the culture. Um, uh, the culture articles, just really taking it one level down and trying to dig into things. And I really enjoyed this movie. Um, I opened up the article that I just wrote for Cultures about the movie, in that I saw the movie and there was absolute silence in the movie theater, right? And if you know anything about go to see movies with people of the African diaspora, we don't keep quiet in movies. We are
I know.
laughing, we're joking, we're yelling out instructions, we're giving warnings, so it's this
Don't
culture.
go there. It's a trap.
Exactly. And I've never been in a movie where the entire crowd of black people was just completely silent, in complete awe, in complete reverence. They understood what was being put in front of them. And so this movie had a lot of things to stand up to. And the expectations of honoring Chadwick, the expectations of following up from a blockbuster movie, the expectations of carrying on the bloodline of the Black Panther so that we could keep on having Black Panther movies. So there was a lot of stuff on top of it. But in addition to that, it had the idea of, we're going to reimagine some age-old characters and really bring representation into a movie in a non-hokey way. And this is the thing that was really important about this movie. Tanak's character Namor, they take Namor out of Atlantis, and they move it into this Mayan culture, but they don't do it in a hokey way where it's just like, oh, forget about how you knew Namor. We'll do it this way. They had Mayan consultants on set making sure that the language was correct. John just talked about the fact that they had divers on set to make sure that the diving scenes looked better, right? Which is what they should have used for Aquaman, oh my God, that movie was awful. So, I shouldn't be throwing shade. Anyway, whatever. But so in the article that I just wrote, one of the things that we talked about is that we are looking at representations of two people that experience colonization or the attempt of colonization on their cultures, right? And one of the things that we see in real life, in real history, is that oftentimes the people who are left as the remnants of colonization tend to fight each other and not the person who actually did the colonizing, right? So you have these two warring brother and sister nations trying to pick up where the colonizers left off, and sometimes forgetting that the real enemy, or the real people who have caused them pain and anguish, are the people who came in and stripped their country and now have pitted them against each other. And it is not by accident, right? So at the end of the movie, when I see Namor and the Mayan culture acquiesce to Suri, it's not a loss. I think in my mind, it's a place where they recognize, wait a minute, why are we fighting each other? Right? That would be the loss. The loss would be for one of those to be, we're going to decimate another culture, because that's what the colonizers wanted anyway. Let's get rid of all of the people so we can take the resources of the land, right? So I think that recognition is a win for both of those cultures. And if you keep watching, there's a strategy in it. He says to his second in command, listen, when they go to war with the people who have been trying to get their vibranium, they're going to need backup. And that's when they'll come back to us, and we'll be in a position of power. So it was very Machiavellian, the way that he was looking at the whole thing. It wasn't, I might lose this battle right here, but we're going to be in a much stronger place if I acquiesce, if I yield in this moment. But I do think that that was a place of strength and not weakness, because it allowed for his people to live. It allowed for Wakandans to live, and so I think that it opened up much more possibilities. And so for me, it wasn't a loss. I didn't see it as a loss in that piece. And
I actually love.
in case you're asking me, I absolutely love this movie. Not a dry eye in the theater. People cutting onion under my chair, the whole 9 yards. It was beautiful.
You had a comment. You have a comment, Isis.
Yeah, Hayden, I thought like your comments are so insightful, and I do agree with that. Like, Wakanda Forever did give us ultimately that strategic alliance between Wakanda and Talokan. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that close to right. And correct me. I think my biggest problem was the scene where they're in the desert, and Shuri has ripped up the scene where they're in the desert, right? And I think that could have been augmented to like there's a meeting of the minds. And much like when she had that conversation with Mbaku, and she's like, "This is my strategy. This is what we're gonna do." And Mbaku was like, "I don't agree with that." And she's like, "We gonna do this anyway." And he's like, "I don't agree. I hope you change your mind, but bet like we're here. Like I respect you as a leader." And I think had the dialogue between Shuri and Neymar been more along those lines, where he like still had agency and choice and actively decided, like in that confrontation to work with Shuri, I would have felt more empowered. I would have felt more excited. I am glad that at the end, like when he's having that dialogue with one of his community members, he's like, "This is intentional. This is a long term strategy, and I'm excited. This is the end." But I wish that happens like a little bit earlier.
Well, I mean, I think Hayden brings up such a great point. I mean, this is how, first we have to remember that Namor saw anyone on the surface as the enemy, right? So then when he comes up and he's like, "Oh, the air's so pristine, what were you doing? Why did you let the world know who you are?" And which is interesting because that's exactly opposite of the theme of the last movie, which is we need to let the world know who we are, right? And so there was a switch in him with that, where he sees, okay, these people are more like us than the rest of the people on the surface. But there's still, think about it. I mean, if you spent your whole life, in his case, how long has he been alive? Like millennia? I
Centuries.
don't know, how long.
Yeah.
So to switch on a dime like that, there's still going to be remnants of what you thought in the past, and that's going to make you want to fight for your people, your beliefs, your culture. And so I think it takes time. Just like the last movie, the Wakandans had the whole movie to switch how they felt for, again, however long, centuries, millennia, whatever, which is that we shouldn't let people know how fabulous we are, right? I mean, think
Right.
about that. Actually, if you think about, and I'm sure Deanna would agree. Think about any brown culture. Like, let's not. They don't need to know how fabulous we are. We're good. We good, right? But now they know, and now they're coming after you, right? And that's his point, I think. But either way, I think now that we're talking it through, it makes sense. It's going to take some time to switch what you've thought for so long. And I'm glad that they finally came together, even though he did. I mean, he yielded. But, as a woman, that was kind of cool, though. She had the spear to his throat. She wasn't playing with him. He put a spear through her belly. He's like, "Oh, is that how we going to do it today?" She said, "Let me come back. Here's a bomb." Boom. I just dried out your whole body.
But listen, I will say this, and one of the things that you have to remember. So again, remember what I said, that the movie has so much to live up to. On one hand, we're watching a cultural representation, and all of this stuff is overlaid on it and is foundational to the storyline. But there's canon that we still have to pay attention to, right? So we can't go forth and say it's like, oh well, this should have happened, because at the end of the day, this is still a story that's already been written. It's a story that has a very structured lineage, right? So that we can't stray way too far away from it. And the other side of it too. Remember, we're watching a movie called Wakanda Forever, right? So it wasn't like Talocan Forever; it was Wakanda Forever. Oh, so you kind of expect that Wakanda's going to come out on the top, you got to reframe your mind sometimes. It's not a
Yeah.
historic. It's not a historical movie.
And I also wanted Killmonger to like come back and so I'm a sucker for like the anti-hero or like the empathetic villain. So that's me. I
Well,
also want
Killmonger did
Magneto.
essentially come back. Killmonger came back. He came back and gave Shuri some direction.
I wanted him to be alive in this plane. Not like I mean, I'm happy he made an appearance, but I was like when he showed up in the ancestral plane, I was like, oh, Killmonger is gone, right? I wanted him to be with us. But I always root for the anti like Dr. X and Magneto. I want them to like be best friends again at some point. So yeah, that's I'm always here for reconciliation.
Thanks for listening or watching Destinations with Doni. Show your support by rating this episode on your podcast platform, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe to get notifications of new episodes, because you don't want to ever miss out on any of this cross-cultural goodness.